Taleworlds Entertainment have come a long, long way with their series Mount and Blade. It started off as humble beginnings with just the idea of one man. And now it's fully fledged into a massive company with a humongous fan base, and of course personally, I have to thank Taleworlds for giving me a game I'm so passionate about that I created a whole YouTube channel around. So in this video, I'm going to be going over where have Taleworlds come from and where are they going to go in the future. All the games that they have created in the meantime, the improvements that they have added in, and what I'm hoping for the later future games. So this is the evolution of Mount and Blade. To start off, we need to go back to 2005. Taleworlds is an official brand of the Ikisoft software company. It was founded in 2005 and located in Turkey. Mount and Blade was released in 2008. This was the good old original, the open sandbox medieval life simulator type game. This is something that hadn't been really seen much at the time. You started as one man or woman going throughout the medieval world, recruiting soldiers, improving your relations with other people, going into battles, choosing your path through the medieval world, and eventually trying to become the most powerful in Calradia. With this, it became very popular with the historical gaming community. A lot of people wanted to see more of this because it was something very different that not many people had shown before. Me personally playing it, going back even to this day, I went back a couple of days ago and I started playing it, and oh my, how it has changed since then. But you can see everything Taleworlds has done in the future has come and started from the original basis of Mount and Blade that was released in 2008. From the simple graphics and the whole combat system that they wanted to implement. It has all been derived from the basis of the original Mount and Blade game. It is really the starter and, in my opinion, the most important game in the franchise. Next in 2010 came Mount and Blade Warband. So how is this different to Mount and Blade? Technically it wasn't a sequel as you would see it today. But Mount and Blade Warband was sort of new version, started from the beginning and really improved on Mount and Blade as much as they possibly could. With much better graphics into the game, new animations with the fighting animations. I think if you compared the original Mount and Blade's animations and the ones from Warband, you would see a massive difference even to this day. There was a new faction, the Saranid faction, which is a very love-hate type faction. Many people have that sort of relationship with this faction. May it be fighting against it, hating their sheer amount of javelins coming at you from all directions. Sometimes blocking it is just not on the cards. But sometimes they are really good to go in and show who's boss. They are a good faction to fight against as long as you have the right equipment to do so. Also added were new types of weapons and armor, and of course the game was much better optimized. With this better optimization came the ability for people to create more mods. Of course, in the original Mount and Blade there was modding, with very popular mods like the Third Age mod. This was a Lord of the Rings overhaul. This came back later on in Mount and Blade Warband along with a whole host of other mods, such as the Blood in the West Lord of the Rings mod, the Bellum Imperii Roman mod, and of course mods such as Prophecy of Pendor and the Gecko Kuju mod, which put you into the samurai shoes of Japan. Now, along with these single player mods, we also had multiplayer mods, which really started the scene. Of course, Warband introduced multiplayer into the Mount and Blade world, which was a massive thing for all the fans. People really wanted to see this in the original, but it was not there. And with the introduction of multiplayer in Warband, I think it blew the series up in a massive way. With this multiplayer, we got communities coming together, creating clans, creating events, private hosting to do these epic battles. With these epic battles and multiplayer type events came different mods. My favourite personally back in the day being the Mount and Gladius mod. This was a Roman overhaul where you had legions fighting, pitting together with shield wolves and Pelum and Gladius going against the barbaric tribes. This was such a fun mod to play. You also had mods that really brought in a different aspect to the game, such as the Full Invasion 2 mod. Now this mod was of course derived from the Full Invasion 1 mod, but improved on it in nearly every single way. Here you had players fighting on the same team for once, against AI foes coming at you in waves and waves. Not only did this give you the opportunity to work in a co-op type way, but also brought in so many different time eras and different maps. You could have My Little Ponies invading Helm's Deep, or you can have the terrorist groups fighting against the Lord of the Rings characters. It was such a cool way of getting into the Mount and Blade world. Of course, there were clans that derived around this as well, hosting events such as the Battle of Thermopylae, where clans played as the 300 Spartans, defending against hordes and waves of invading Persians. This really overhauled the Mount and Blade game and brought such a massive community in today. So many people still play Mount and Blade Warband, and of course, if you don't know already, a lot of my videos are based around this game, and actually my first videos derived from Mount and Blade Warband, playing in regiments, playing alongside my fellow Mount and Bladers. So what came after Warband? What could top that? Now in 2011, the first standalone expansion for Mount and Blade came out, and that was Mount and Blade with Fire and Sword. Firearms had been introduced into the battlefield. Muskets, pistols, and different firearms such as that could be used in the battlefield against your enemy. There was also hand-to-hand combat, enabling you to quickly drop your foes, in addition to the enhanced single-player mode that was added with Fire and Sword. It also provides a host of original multiplayer content, including a whole new game mode, Captain. Now this Captain game mode was very much player leading AI against each other. This really inspired the later Commander battle mode on the Napoleonic Wars DLC. Now of course, Fire and Sword being a standalone expansion, you don't actually need Mount and Blade Warband to play this game. It was very different, as muskets and guns and things haven't really been seen in the Mount and Blade franchise until this point, and I think at the start many people loved it. Now it has died off a little bit as time's gone on, but I still think it is a really fun and different way to play the Mount and Blade games. Next in 2012 came one of the biggest successes to Mount and Blade yet, the Mount and Blade Napoleonic Wars DLC. Now this derived from a community mod called Mount and Musket, where clans would come together and forming regiments. These regiments would go into battles, line battles, trying to recreate the line battles we all know and love from the Napoleonic Wars era, with cavalry charges down the wings and artilleries bombing from the back. It also recreated the Napoleonic Wars sieges, trying to smash down walls and get into the enemy's flag. It features historical battles from the Napoleonic Wars era and topped the player count from 200 to 250 players, and has over 220 unique units that the people can play as. It added a wide range of artillery pieces ranging from field cannons to mortars, capable of firing cannonballs, canister or explosive shells. Also, the players could construct barricades, dig trenches and rig explosives with the Engineer class. This was something also that was very different to the Mount and Blade franchise. It had factions such as UK, France, Austria, Prussia and Russia. I really love the Napoleonic Wars DLC, and I think this is really what blew up Mount and Blade in a massive way. Because this was something that community wanted, everyone moved on to the Napoleonic Wars DLC. They started making these regiments and these organised events. These events became so big, people started recording them, putting them onto YouTube. From this, people saw this and came into Mount and Blade. Now, something that did happen with this, a lot of people went straight into Napoleonic Wars and kind of missed out the original Mount and Blade Warband. But I think it really brought tons and tons of new people into the franchise. I know me, I joined the Mount and Blade franchise because I saw the Napoleonic Wars and I was like, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this in a game before. This got me into Mount and Blade, and of course I spent a couple of years playing Napoleonic Wars, and then when I finally played Warband, I was blown away at how addicting this game really was. In 2014 came the final Mount and Blade Warband DLC. This was Viking Conquest. It was not made by Tailwolves directly, but the Brighton World development team. they helped to create this Viking Conquest type world in the Mount & Blade franchise. This added yet again better graphics into the game, storyline features as well, and of course the new map. It also had multiplayer, a lot like Napoleonic Wars and Warband, but it had new troops and of course was set in the very well known and very well loved Viking era, where you had to build up your Viking hordes and sail over Britain to invade the monasteries and the towns and cities and take what you want. Now this Viking Conquest mode was extremely good and I still play it every now and then today, but I have to say I mostly just play the single player since the multiplayer is almost all but dead. This is unfortunate for such a recent DLC, but I just don't think it really tacked onto the players as the Napoleonic Wars did. And finally, Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Now by the time I'm making this, it isn't actually released and we're hoping for some time late 2017 to early 2018. Now of course many people are loving the look of this game so far. The hype has been building for a long time now. Hopefully in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord we're of course going to see those upgraded graphics. We're going to see new gameplay mechanics and an all new reworked multiplayer. But from then, I'm hoping Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord is going to improve on the Mount & Blade series in every way it possibly can. But I guess only time will tell. So that is where Mount & Blade has been in the past. That is where I'm hoping it will go in the future. What are your ideas? I'd love to hear them, so leave them down in the comments and I'll make sure to read them all. But until then, I will see you in the next one.